is Stephanie from Selman Company. I'm the client manager for the TRICARE Supplement Plan. And today we're going to go over a webinar that's really an open forum. So feel free to submit your questions as we go throughout. I made sure to include any questions that were received as well as our most popular asked questions. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So for a lot of people, and myself included, before I worked at Selman Company, I myself was not familiar with TRICARE. So I thought it would be helpful just to go over a very brief overview of TRICARE and the supplement plan. So when we're looking at TRICARE supplement, I think it's important to have that brief understanding of TRICARE itself. So the three plans of TRICARE that we see most common with TRICARE supplement are going to be TRICARE Standard Extra, which is going to actually change to TRICARE Select effective January 1st, 2018. This plan works very similarly to an indemnity or a PPO plan. Pretty much have the freedom to choose your providers. You have in-network and out-of-network doctors. This program is also going to leave the most out-of-pocket expenses for the insured, and what we're going to see most commonly when somebody picks up the supplement, because it has more out-of-pocket expenses. The next type of TRICARE is TRICARE Prime. This works very similarly to an HMO. So you're assigned a primary care manager, and whenever you want to see a specialist or get a referral, you have to go through your manager. With TRICARE Prime, you also need to be seen at military treatment facilities and have to reside within 40 miles of one of those facilities. So it can be a little bit more restricting, but there are out-of-pocket expenses with this type of plan as well. So we do see enrollments, so that way the supplement will pick up those costs. And the third type is TRICARE Reserve Select, and this is for your National Guard and Reserve members, and it works very similarly to TRICARE Standard. So it can be used worldwide. It works just like a PPO or an indemnity plan. So the main differences between these TRICARE plans are going to be whether or not there's an enrollment fee. So for TRICARE Prime, there is an enrollment fee, and enrollment is required. For the other plans, it is not. Your choice of provider, so where you're able to get seen, and location of service. So what types of changes are we going to see in 2018? I think that's what everybody is really curious about, so I wanted to make sure that we touched on that right away. So the first thing that's changing, and these changes are actually TRICARE changes, and I will let you know how the supplement is going to change to mirror those. We want to make sure that the changes for TRICARE are the same changes as the supplement to make this as seamless as possible. So the first change is that TRICARE is changing their plan year. So currently, the plan year used to start October 1st. So on October 1st through September 30th. Well, TRICARE is going to change that, and the new plan year is going to be January 1st. So it'll be on a calendar year. So for these last 3 months of the year, October, November, and December, they normally would have gone into the new plan year. But since TRICARE is changing that calendar, they're going to allow those 3 months to keep accumulating with the current deductible or the current plan year that's going on right now. So employees who currently have TRICARE and TRICARE Supplement, their plan year is going to continue up until December 31st. So if they've already met their deductible, that's great. Then they just keep on going, and it'll reset as of January 1st. Another thing that is changing, which I had previously mentioned, is TRICARE Standard Extra, which most people would refer to as TRICARE Standard, will be changing to TRICARE Select. It's just a name change. It doesn't mean anything other than that. So you're probably wondering, what does this mean for current insureds? So for current insureds, there's really no direct impact for your employees. So that's the good news. Really, their deductible period is being extended. Come January 1st, it'll reset, and it'll just continue to work like that as normal. Now, I know not everybody has a January 1st benefit start date. I know that some people have March 1st or maybe October 1st, really anytime throughout the year. And how the TRICARE works with those different types of benefit start dates is that it's really only going to affect employees for the first year they enroll. So for that first year they enroll, their deductible period is going to be a little bit shortened, but after they make it through that first year, it'll reset January. The supplement actually follows TRICARE's calendar. So we'll be adjusting our period to be a calendar year as well. So after they get through that first year, if you have an off-cycle open enrollment, meaning any time outside of January 1st, it will work itself out and then they'll be on the TRICARE schedule. And this is how it worked in the past. So in the past, TRICARE reset it on October 1st, and so did the supplement plan, but most of our employer groups, most of our clients did not. So that first year employees would enroll, their deductible period would be slightly off, and then after that first year, they would sync up. And this is so that we make sure that when they enroll in the supplement plan, they're getting the most benefit by mirroring that TRICARE plan. And those are really the only changes that are going to be impacting you. Now, TRICARE has released additional changes that will come later down the road. Most of those aren't going to affect anybody who has enlisted prior to January 1st, 2018. So you and I aren't going to see any additional changes for, a number of years because you have to be retired. So I thought it would be helpful. I know that we have a lot of questions around eligibility, who's eligible. So active duty and spouses of active duty are not eligible for a corporate TRICARE supplement plan, meaning that they cannot enroll in the plan that you're currently offering. However, they're more than welcome to reach out to Selman directly, and we do have an individual plan that these employees could enroll in. The rates are going to be different and the benefits are going to be slightly different, but we do have that option. Okay, and I did get a question. The question is, typically TRICARE Prime participants do not have out-of-pocket expenses if seen at a TRICARE facility or military hospital. Should they only elect if seen by a civilian provider? What about active duty dependents? So TRICARE Prime, the benefit of having TRICARE Prime is that if you stay in network, you virtually have no out-of-pocket expenses. You pay your annual fee to have the plan, and you typically only have to pay co-pays, which are roughly, I think, $12. So if that works for you and you don't have to go outside and see a civilian provider, then having a supplement might not make the most sense. But if you do have to go see civilian providers, maybe you have dependent children in college and they can't come home when they have to see a doctor, that's when you might want to pick up the supplement, because when you go out of network with TRICARE Prime, you're responsible for 50% of your cost share. So TRICARE Prime works really, really well as long as you can stay within those parameters, but whenever you have to go out of network, that's when your prices can end up jumping quite a bit. So, insurance, TRICARE supplement, just like any insurance, is really going to be dependent on your employees' medical needs and their family's medical needs. And then active duty we just reviewed, so that was perfect timing. So with active duty, as I mentioned, they can call our customer service number and get additional information, or you're always more than welcome to direct them to me, and I can actually connect them directly with somebody in that department. So Medicare. When somebody turns 65 and they're going to be eligible for Medicare, their TRICARE is going to turn into TRICARE for Life. TRICARE for Life plus Medicare pretty much covers all of their expenses, and they're no longer going to be eligible for the TRICARE Supplement Plan. So if you're eligible for Medicare, you're no longer eligible for the supplemental plan. If for some reason you're not eligible for Medicare, you can continue your TRICARE Supplement Plan, but we need written confirmation saying that you are not eligible. Domestic partners are not covered by TRICARE. You have to be legally married. And because this is a requirement of TRICARE, we follow TRICARE's eligibility. So because TRICARE says they're not eligible, unfortunately, they're not eligible for the supplement as well. Expats, so anybody living overseas, as long as they have TRICARE overseas, and typically that means that they need to have TRICARE Standard Extra or soon to be Select, then the supplement will work overseas as well. This really depends on what type of TRICARE they have and if that type of TRICARE works overseas. As a follow-up to this presentation, I'll make sure to send out a TRICARE handbook on overseas. I find it very helpful. You know, we pride ourselves in being experts on the supplemental plan, but whenever we're talking about TRICARE directly, I always like to provide where I'm getting my information from. So that way you or your employees can review it and make sure that you have the same understanding as well. What if the spouse is the employee? So this question or this statement means, what if the military member is not the employee? Maybe the spouse is the employee. This spouse, as long as they have TRICARE, they're going to be eligible for the TRICARE Supplement Plan. So it's available to spouses, dependents. They just have to be on their spouse's plan. So what is DEERS? Excuse me. We talk about DEERS a lot when we talk about eligibility, and I think that sometimes it can be glazed over a little bit, and we don't really talk about what DEERS actually is. So DEERS is managed by the Department of Defense. DEERS stands for Defense Enrollment Eligibility Reporting System. And we check eligibility for any employee enrolling into the plan through this system. We only check the employee's eligibility. So we don't check eligibility on spouses or dependent children. If the employee's eligible and they have family members enrolling, we're going to assume that the family members are eligible as well. The only time we do not check eligibility for employees is if you're submitting hard copy enrollment forms. So hard copy enrollment forms require that employees indicate the type of TRICARE they have and their military status. So because they're electing both of those items, we do not double check their eligibility in the DEERS system. So a little bit I wanted to touch on dental, and then we'll kind of move into the onboarding process. So dental comes up quite a bit because dental is not included in TRICARE. And because it's not included in TRICARE, it's therefore not included in TRICARE Supplement. So the question comes up a lot, what do employees do for their dental coverage? Most employees in our experience will enroll in their employer's dental plan. So if you're offering whatever type of dental plan you're offering for the majority or for all of your employees, they would enroll in that separately. Our enrollments outside of life events, new hires, and annual enrollment allowed. So yes, we will take enrollments throughout the year. It does not have to be a life event, a new hire, or during annual enrollment. We don't actually ask what the reason is for the new enrollment when we receive their enrollment information. Instead, we leave this decision up to our clients. So if you're able to handle enrollments throughout the year, then that's great. If for some reason you're not and you want to hold to the same processes used for your major medical plans, you can do that as well. We support either method. So educating employees. A lot of clients will ask, how do I educate my employees? How do I get them additional information on the plans? So we have a couple of different things that we have available at all times. So we have plan brochures, FAQ packets, and we also actually have these little 30-second videos as well that can be sent out to employees or put into your internet platforms or enrollment platforms. We can also do webinars for your employees, just like the webinar we're doing today. It could be for the rest of your HR team or additional coworkers you think might benefit from something like this, or for the employees themselves. And those can be done. This is the current webinar we're doing is for all of our clients, so we're not getting into specifics of plan details and benefit details, but when you have a webinar set up specifically for your company, we're able to go into those things, review premium and deductibles, items like that. So I thought it would be nice. We have put together this, I'm going to make sure that you can see it, this website, and it's kind of like a plan asset site is what we're calling it. And so I've included the link down in the lower right-hand corner of the webinar, but this is kind of a plan asset site for HR members. So I wouldn't send this link to your employees because it does have some information that's meant strictly for you, but it's a nice place to go and retrieve this information anytime. So if you needed it right away, you could go on and get it. And some of the things included in here are, we have the brochure, we have the FAQs for employees and for employers, we have a webinar for HR professionals for you, and then we also have a white paper on there that talks about TRICARE supplement insurance for talent acquisition and healthcare cost control. And then below that, we have these videos for employees. So we made these 30-second videos, and they're really great because they're brief and to the point, but they keep your attention just long enough to get the point across. And then if people have additional questions, they can reach out on those. And you are able to use these however you'd like. You could, email them out to employees, include the link in maybe an electronic newsletter on your enrollment platform, intranet site. Those are free for your disposal. And then next, I want to talk about welcome packets. So once somebody decides to enroll in the TRICARE Supplement Plan, what do they receive? So within 10 business days, we send out a welcome packet, and within 10 business days of receiving their enrollment information. So included in this welcome packet, they're going to receive ID cards, a certificate of insurance, a schedule, a privacy document. And I do want to note that on the ID cards, we're only going to list the policy owner, so the employee, but anyone covered on the plan can use that card. Providers will call in to make sure that they're covered. And duplicate ID cards can be requested at any time. So continuation of coverage. So something that's nice about this plan is that there's an ability to continue coverage if eligibility ends through your employer. So I want to talk about a couple different ways that we see eligibility ending. So the first is going to be terminated or employees that leave. So when this happens, we receive the termination notice and would terminate their policy as however their billing method is. We would then switch them over to direct bill, and we send them a continuation of coverage packet. And included in this packet is a little cover letter, and a direct bill invoice, and then an ACH or an automatic payment form that they can fill out and send back. This way they don't have any break in coverage. They don't have to go through COBRA unless you have it set up that way. But this way they can continue their coverage seamlessly. The other time we see continuation of coverage is when the employee turns 65, but maybe they have a spouse or eligible dependents on their plan. So in these situations, we would terminate the employee once they turn 65, and then we would send that same continuation of coverage information for the spouse or any dependents. And those spouses and dependents are then able to stay on the plan until they're no longer eligible as well. And the third is employees passing away. So this has come up, a couple times recently. And when an employee passes away and maybe the spouse or the dependent wants to continue the plan, we would do the same thing. We would terminate the existing policy. And in this case, we would actually terminate the policy and issue a new policy to the spouse, the surviving spouse, and any dependents. And with all of these options, the nice thing is that the plan benefits and the rates are going to remain the same. Unless somebody's dropping from a plan, then the rates could actually end up decreasing. But they can continue this plan until they're no longer eligible. I just have a question. What if an employee moves from full-time to part-time? So eligibility for employees, when we talk about full-time versus part-time, we really leave that up to our clients. So some of our clients allow part-time employees to enroll in this plan, and others follow their other major medical plans and only allow full-time employees. So if a full-time employee moved from full-time to part-time, you would send us their termination information. We would go ahead and terminate their current billing method and then send them the continuation of coverage packet. So really, if their eligibility ends through their employer, through you, for any reason, we would give them the option to continue that coverage on a direct bill basis. And then here is some contact information I wanted to provide. So here's my contact information at the top. I wanted to make sure to list that HR plan asset site we visited earlier. And then I also want to list the contact information for employees. So employees are more than welcome to call or email our customer service center if they have any questions. And now I just want to open the floor and see if anybody has any, additional questions before we end our session today. All right, I don't believe I see any, but if you do, please feel free to email me or give me a call whenever they pop up. I will be sending this out as a recorded webinar along with the slides so that you can review them at a later date. I will also send out that overseas handbook from TRICARE. But I want to thank you all for joining me today, and please don't hesitate if there's anything I can assist with. Thanks and have a great day.